Yeah, the old girl's working. Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, the 29th of July, 2026, and we're getting the old farm all H out today so we can do a bit of work on her. Yeah, we're gonna pull around in front of the old hay rake today and act like we're gonna pull it. Yeah, we'll get around here in front of this thing. One of the issues we're having with the thing is I've got the wires backwards on the amp gauge. So we're going to correct that today. It's close enough to that drop bar, I think. Yeah, we're not going to pull the thing, just going to look like we're going to. Spend a lot of hours looking over my shoulder at that thing. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why we brought it over here and put it in the yard. So yeah, before it gets any hotter today and I start sweating worse, we'll take a little road trip out so you can see what's been going on in the valley. We've been having highs in the 3-digit range. A lot of fires in the area. In fact, we are having soot and ash storms, like a snowstorm, only it's soot and ash. We got a red flag warning going on for people with lungs and elderly that need to stay inside because of the smoke. And yeah, we'll take a quick drive around the area here and we'll show you that. Today's actually a pretty good day for the last couple that we've had. So yeah, anyway, we'll get that amp gauge changed out, get the finish up the wiring on this. Nothing I hate much worse than electrical wiring issues and problems. Another one that's right up there is fiberglass handles on shovels and rakes and that sort of thing, but that's a whole nother story of little itty-bitty glass splinters and whatnot. So anyway, we'll shut this whole girl off and get it to doing some wiring. Yeah. So anyway, hang tight. We'll be right back. And before I forget, thank you to all the new subscribers and those that have been with me for a while that are continuing to follow. And yeah, welcome back to Dave's Old Iron. Sorry if the audio is a little bit weak today, or first thing this morning. I'm filming this while I'm driving. This is the smoke we got in the area. Yeah, we got visibility down to maybe about a half mile and that's it. I tell you, the laws and regulations in this new town where I'm living are just something else. In fact, just the other day they arrested a guy that was putting in countertops and cabinets in the neighbor's house over here. Yeah, they charged him with counterfeiting. And of course, one of the first things you want to do anytime you're doing any electrical work on anything is, first thing to do is to remove your grounding cable. That way you don't have any arky sparkies and wish you had of after the fact. Yeah. Now, since my move over here to the new place away from the farm, which is probably the worst thing I ever have done in my life, but it is what it is. Even my propane torch disappeared. I had a green tackle box with kind of a tan lid on it, just chock full of all of my wire ends, shrink tubing, solder, the whole 9 yards. So I've been having to buy new. Yeah, first time putting this one together. Guess I got to hold it a little different, put some pressure on it so it'll go down in, which it looks like it's doing now. Yeah. Now I do have an electric soldering iron, but for working outside on doing these electrical fittings, I prefer the propane. It heats the fittings up on the wire a little bit faster and it melts the solder quicker, so I don't have near the damage to the wiring from the heat. Yeah. And since my electrical box is missing, I had to go to the Chinese Emporium of Hateful Freight and pick up some shrink tubing and an assortment of new terminal connectors for the ends of the wire. This is the aftermarket amp gauge that I bought to put in the thing, or I ordered new from Steiner's or whoever, because at the time I was thinking of putting a Delco 10SI alternator under the hood. Well, if you remember back, it didn't fit. So we're going to go to an original style that I think only goes to 20 amps. Man, it's getting hot today. Anyway, the little Japanese Denso or whatever it is, the smaller alternator that you can get from like Steiner's or whoever, only puts out 40 amps. And honestly, the tractor has a magneto ignition system, so the only thing the alternator's ever going to do is recharge the battery once the engine has started, and it'll recharge from the starting, and then power a few 12-volt lights. Well, there's only a headlight, a tail light, well, 2 headlights, a tail light, and a rear work light on this thing. So the new IH logoed amp gauge looks like this. Now this looks more like a traditional 6-volt amp gauge, and it has the, if you can look down in there behind the needle, it's got the, let me grab a hold of it. It's got the earlier IH logo down there behind the needle for the early Farmalls. Yeah, and it only goes to 20 amp. I just saw the ad for the new Star Wars movie that's coming out. Yeah, I think it's chapter 24 or something like that. Yeah, it's entitled Luke Needs a New Walker. Get it? Luke Skywalker needs a new walker. Oh, it's bad. First thing we got to do is remove the nuts and all the washers and stuff that's on the back of this amp gauge, because we're going to reuse them on the new gauge. And I'm going to be honest with you and tell you, I got the wires hooked up backwards on this amp gauge. Let me get my pliers out of my pocket here. There's the solder. Wire nippers. There we go. The wiring diagrams that you find all over the internet, sorry I bumped you, aren't really worth a darn to tell you which side you hook your wire up to from the one wire alternator. They just hook up the amp gauge, but they don't show you if it's the front or the back of the amp gauge. They don't show you if it's positive or negative side of the amp gauge. Nothing. Of course, like most people, I put it on backwards, so that's why it was showing a negative charge while I was running the engine earlier, is because the wires were backwards. So for anybody that's converting something to 12 volt from 6 volt, make darn sure that your 10 gauge minimum wire size coming from the amp meter, or from the alternator, sorry, to the amp meter hooks up to the positive side of the amp meter. Alrighty, there is the new amp gauge in place in the panel here, this little flat panel. I've already changed out the headlights wire switch to 12 volt test style. The coil's a little different here, and that sort of thing. That's about the only way you can tell the difference. But yeah, so that's done. We'll put the bracket on here that holds the amp gauge in place on the back of this panel here, and I've already pulled the light bulb out of its little socket, so I can take that in and find a little screw for that. And yeah, we'll get that wired up, the amp gauge anyway, and then we'll look at wiring up the headlights. I'm sure you've all seen these little ring terminals. They come with a red or a yellow or a blue plastic deal down here on the end where you crimp the wires on. Now the way I like to do these is to remove that plastic and then get these warm enough I can hit it with some solder. That way I don't have any issues later on. Looks like we need to heat that up some more. Yeah, nothing I hate worse as electrical issues. So, We now have a good connection right there. Yeah. And then the next step, and when you're using solder, make sure you're getting the rosin core electrical solder. It is 6040 is the rating on it. Let me hold it up here so you can see it. Right, like that. And then we grab the shrink tube. We pull it up over it. And I could cut that shrink tube a little shorter. Let me cut it in half here right quick. Now normally I like to use color-coded ends on these, red and black for hot and ground, or neutral, whatever case you may want it to call it. Voila, done. Now since we've cut that other end of the wire, where the wire comes through for the magneto kill switch, we're just going to cut this here to eliminate this right at the minute. And yeah, let's see, is that attached to, yeah, that wire right there we're going to have to undo because it is attached to the headlights. So we'll get a screwdriver out and undo that. We're going to save this light switch here. It is a newer reproduction job for a 6-volt system. It's got a little cruddy over the years from use, but it isn't all that old, and as far as I'm aware, it works. So we're going to take this screw out, drop off the wire there for the headlights, put the screw back in the hole here where it's supposed to go, and yeah, we'll save this for another farm-all project we got coming up that might need a 6-volt system in it. Namely those little my little BN farm-all. If I decide to keep it 6-volt, I've already got the switch right here. Yeah. So anyway, that's that. This is the wire for that, and it would go up through that hole. Pardon me, right there in the bottom of this where my finger is. But I'm waiting on a headlight or gasket to go in there. It's kind of an O-ring looking kind of a thing. So for now, we're just going to stick with the 12-volt conversion stuff. Now to hook up the amp gauge. I think I got it the right way around. We'll undo the nuts off the back of it here and slap the wires on it, and we'll be right back and check it out. Make sure we got it right. Okay, we'll get this battery hooked back up. Remember to always hook and unhook your grounded side. That way if you hit it with like the positive side, if you're wrenching on it, it'll hit the metal tank, it won't spark and explode. We run a chance of it exploding because it's the same voltage. If I was to touch this, same voltage, no sparky. Okay, there's that. You know, I never did like those battery boxes being under there. I'm gonna rig up some sort of a shelf thing, I think, where this will stick out a little further like it does when it slides out like this. Maybe just have it like that. Yeah. Anyway, we'll figure that out later on. I'm just going to stick these wires through there for now. And I'm only going to put in one bolt. And this is the trick, getting that bolt to line up and go through. And lo and behold, I actually did it. Yay! It's kind of a bad situation to do that sometimes. You're almost halfway blind on doing it. And I get that nut on the back side of it, and we'll be golden. I'm only going to put the one bolt in it, and just to hold that in there until I get the rest of the wiring for the lights and whatnot, and then we'll put it together the right way around. Let's see here if we got it wired up right now. Yeah, looky there, it's charging. About 10 amp. I doubt it'll ever hit 20. But we got it and it's charging, so yeah, we're looking good. But for now, we're just going to finish up the 12-volt conversion part from the alternator, the amp gauge, to the battery, that sort of thing, the charging system. When we get the parts in and new 12-volt light bulbs for the headlights and that sort of thing, then we'll do another video on changing over the headlights and that, wiring them up to work off the 12-volt system. Since some of you thought I was getting a little plump, I decided to start a whole foods diet. Yeah, I did. So don't ask me to share any of my Snickers bar with you, because I sure won't. Well, that'll do it for today from Dave's Old Iron until we get some more parts in, like the 12-volt light bulbs, some gaskets for the light lenses, that sort of thing. That's all on order. When that comes in, we'll do a finish up on the lighting on that. Now this video, just like I said at the start, this just finishes up the 12-volt conversion. So everything's working properly now to charge the battery and that sort of thing. So next it'll be a few little upgrades because of my physical limitations. We'll do a few tweaks and stuff so that I can operate the machine safely. And yeah, we'll maybe drive it around town a little bit and show you some of the scenery around the little town of Hazleton. Anyway, I'm Dave, wishing you all well. Y'all have a good one. We'll catch up with you in the next one. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye for now.